There's an old New England saying, you can't get there from here. And when it comes to Mount Washington, the tallest mountain on the East Coast, you're absolutely right. Except, from here, you absolutely can. Welcome to a one-of-a-kind road that goes all the way to the very top of New England. And when you get there, you're exactly 4,723 feet closer to the sun than you were when you started. And if you're here at night, you're that much closer to the stars. How you arrive at the top of New England all depends on how you want to get here. But no matter which way you choose to get to the summit, one thing's for sure. When you take the Mount Washington Auto Road, get ready for a one-of-a-kind ride to the sky.
It's the spirit of the White Mountains that exists, whether you're a skier in Tuckerman's or you hike in the summertime or whatever. Once you do it, it's part of your life, really. There are a lot of people that I've run into that, you know, their whole life they've hiked here, they've skied here, and continue to do so.
And they've been doing it for a long time. For over 150 years, folks from all over the world have been enjoying what the Italian explorer Giovanni de Verrazzano discovered 500 years ago. Sailing on his ship way out on the Atlantic Ocean. And what did he see? This, the White Mountains of New Hampshire. No wonder he called them white, seeing as how they were covered with snow at the time. But come summertime, when Mother Nature returns in all her green glory, her handiwork still doesn't quite reach the top of Mount Washington. It is one tall mountain. The higher you climb, the less there is to see vegetation-wise. Hardly anything grows up here on this 6,000-foot-high peak because it's got to climb through 4 distinct echo zones before ending up in what scientists call Arctic tundra. Imagine that, in the Arctic, and still in New Hampshire.
So there's something about reaching 4,000 feet in New Hampshire. This snow coach allows people who may not be avid hikers to reach that 4,000-foot level above sea and stand outside in it without having to go through the ordeal of getting down and getting up and then having enough to get all the way back down. So it's a great experience for everybody to sort of touch that piece of the earth at that time.
You just never know what's going to be happening up on that road, whether it's because of the weather, which is kind of the next player in the scene, or whether it's events that are happening on the road. It is amazing how much life there is to this inanimate object of this ribbon of roadway to the top.
Whether you take the wheel yourself and drive the almost 8 miles up to the top, or enjoy a 2-hour guided tour in one of the Autoroads vans. Either way, you'll be taking a journey not only up a mountain, but back in time.
the road is its own entity. And as it snakes its way up the mountain, every turn brings a different vista, and it's a constantly changing animal as you go up, whether it goes from tarmac to dirt back to tarmac. The change between below tree line and above tree line is pretty dramatic there at one point. So it is part of the experience of getting to the summit of Mount Washington. It's not just the summit experience, it's getting there, and that's, of course, the road.
Up until 1850, the view was strictly something you'd see from down here. Sure, you might try climbing Mount Washington, as some of the intrepid explorers did in the past, but you'd be taking your life in your hands if you did. Not the best way to start a vacation. But then along came the Grand Trunk Railroad folks. They built a rail line from Montreal to Portland that happened to pass close to New Hampshire's Pinkham Notch. Well, they took one look at the majestic peak of Mount Washington, and suddenly they didn't just have freight in mind.
As the railroad started under construction, people realized, well, there could be passengers riding on that railroad too. And with that thought, and with the route finalized through Gorham, a lot of people started to speculate, hey, this is going to be the reawakening of Gorham. We're going to have a shot at tourism.
Good news has a way of traveling fast. More and more folks discover what's been under their noses, or to be more precise, above their heads all along. And the more they take in the view of those majestic white mountains, they pass the word, what if you could get to the top? One man in particular does a lot more than just listen.
David O. Macomber, who was up here at the time, about the idea of a carriage road up Mount Washington. And supposedly, Macomber bit really hard on the idea and loved it and rushed to Concord with a petition for a charter to build a carriage road up Mount Washington.
You have to remember, this was the 1850s. No mechanized equipment whatsoever. Everything was done with horse-drawn or oxen-drawn carts and raw muscle power. There was no dynamite. It hadn't been invented yet. There were no pneumatic tools, so you had to hand drill the holes in the rock using a star bit. It was a two-person process. One guy holds the star bit, the other guy swings the hammer, and he turns it a quarter of a turn each strike, and it slowly eats its way into the rock and creates a hole. Then they fill it full of the only explosive they had, which is black powder, somewhat unstable explosive, and they would set it off and hope for the best.
So hard is the going that by 1855, Macomber and his men barely made it halfway up the nearly 8-mile stretch before the money ran out. The dream ran out, and Macomber followed suit.
Obviously, you need to make a dollar in order to keep it going. You need to have, and this was the failing of the 1853 company, you need to have the capital in order to build it. And that's where the 1853 company and Macomber ultimately failed.
But the dream didn't, because there's something about this particular mountain that makes certain kinds of people want to reach the top, the kind who don't know the meaning of the word quit. A new group took over the reins, the Mount Washington Summit Road Company. They picked up the shovels, split boulders, hauled gravel, and kept on building the road. Plus, they had the bright idea to charge folks to go halfway up the mountain and watch them do it. For 3 more years, they kept going higher and higher, aiming for the very top of New England. August 8, 1861. After thousands of pounds of black powder blowing countless tons of rock to Kingdom Come, the daring dream to build a road all the way to the summit for all the world to see and enjoy became a happy reality. The road's gravel at best, fit for horses and carriages only, but up it climbs, 7.6 miles, all the way from the Glen House at the bottom, clear to the top of New England, where the Summit House awaits to offer shelter from the ever-changing weather.
When you look at the history of it, when it opened, that was like 2 weeks after the Battle of Bull Run. And when you start thinking about it that way, here in the wilderness area, they're building a road to the top of Mount Washington. I mean, it's pretty remarkable.
We're still doing what they were doing in 1861. We're bringing people to the top of the mountain a lot of the time to enjoy the spectacular 360-degree view. 5 states in Canada, the Atlantic Ocean. It's amazing, just like it was in 1861.
For 9 prosperous years, the road business doubles, then doubles again. But in 1869, someone on the other side of Mount Washington comes up with a different way to get to the top. For 30 years, the Carriage Road Company works hard to compete with Mount Washington Cog Railway's little engine that could. For starters, they built a company office at the summit to encourage railway passengers into taking the stage down the other side of the mountain to the Glen House. It's a clever idea, and business improves, but they need a great idea. And sure enough, in 1899, a new sound is heard, this time on their side of the mountain. Freeland Stanley's first try in his steam car starts the parade of progress. Then steam gives way to gasoline, and things really take off. Modern-day technology finally comes up with a way to conquer a million-plus-year-old mountain, and by doing so, brings the extraordinary majesty of the White Mountains to the ordinary man, woman, and child.
I love to see people's first impression of the mountain. They've heard about it, they've made it part of their vacation coming here to the White Mountains, but they really generally don't know much about the mountain, and whether they're on a guided tour or they do it themselves, they learn a lot about the mountain while they're here, not just about how it's so famous for its weather, but the amazing history that's a part of this mountain and a part of White Mountain tourism. It's the birthplace, really, of White Mountain tourism.
Those views are breathtaking, and to think of those first adventurous souls who saw an opportunity and went for it. This story is like a metaphor for the determined, resilient, and creative people who call the Granite State home. I'm Cliff Blake, and as you can see, I'm coming to you from the comfort of my home. We are in unprecedented times. We will get past this, and when we do, there will be more adventures ahead of us. We'll get back to this great show in just a minute, but first, I want to ask you to take a moment to support the programs you love right here on New Hampshire PBS. Call or text to 800-639-8803 or go online to nhpbs.org, and when you do, we'll say thank you in so many ways.
The Mount Washington Auto Road is one of New Hampshire's greatest adventures, and when you call 800-639-8803 or go online to nhpbs.org and make a $60 donation, we'll say thank you by sending you a Mount Washington logo hydration flask. You'll get access to a terrific member benefit called PBS Passport. With Passport, you can experience thousands of hours of programs, including your NHPBS favorites like the Mount Washington Auto Road to the Sky. If you'd like to donate $120 or make an ongoing monthly sustainer gift of $10, we'll send you a voucher for an informative 2-hour guided tour for 2 with access to the Mount Washington Weather Observatory Museum and the logo hydration flask. For a gift of $240 or a $20 ongoing monthly sustainer gift, we'll say thanks with vouchers for the spectacular guided sunrise tour for 2 adults and will include 2 adult Mount Washington logo sweatshirts and the logo hydration flask. Thanks to our partners at the Auto Road, we have 2 more amazing ways to say thanks. For your gift of $480, prepare to enjoy an overnight stay for 4 at the Glen House, including tickets for a self-driven ride up the Auto Road, 2 logo hydration flasks, and that famous bumper sticker. These are limited and blackout date supply. For your donation of $600, we'll say thank you with the overnight stay for 4 at the Glen House, including tickets for that self-driven ride up the Auto Road, 2 logo hydration flasks, famous bumper sticker, and get this, no blackout dates. So call or text 800-639-8803 or go online at nhpbs.org right now.
Joining me now is Howie Weems. He's the general manager of the Mount Washington Auto Road. He and his team were partners on this beautiful documentary. Hi, Howie. It's nice to virtually see you.
Hi, Cliff.
What was it like working with New Hampshire PBS on this program?
Working on the program was kind of amazing for me because, of course, we're covering a subject that I dearly love and have been not only working at but involved in and researching over the years. So to have a group of people come in and be equally excited about that subject was really fun for me, and just to watch how everyone works and watch the complexity of it.
Nice. What was the most surprising part of this whole production process, do you think?
I think the most surprising part to me was how much there was to do a production like this. How many people were involved, how many types of cameras, how many different skill levels of different things. You know, the setup in the barn for those interviews was amazing, and it was just really fun. And you know, working with a writer that was so not only well versed in the subject but was such a fabulous interviewer, as it turned out, was really fun.
Excellent. Thanks, Howie. The video in this program is just stunning, and producer Steve Giordani is the lead man behind the camera. Steve, what were some of the challenges producing this program?
Some of the challenges filming this documentary were adapting on how to capture some of the special events that happen on the road where people get the challenge of Mount Washington, the same way the builders of the carriage road were challenged to build it. Luckily, the technology for capturing 4K video has gotten small enough that we were able to embed Phil Vaughn, a marathon runner and producer at NHPBS, in with the road race participants. To finish the documentary, I needed to capture the road crew opening up the road by pushing snow off to the side with their snowcat and backhoe. Because of social distancing with COVID-19, they were unable to provide me with a ride where they were working just past the halfway point. I had to hike up with my gear and gained a lot more respect for the average grade of 12% and what it took for surveyors in 1854 to accomplish this feat.
Thanks, Steve. It's because of partnerships with people like Howie Weems and the talents of our hard-working team here at NHPBS that this work gets done. But you have an important part in this production process as well. And that's when you pick up the phone and make a contribution to your New Hampshire PBS station. And when you do, we'll be saying thank you in some very big ways. Up next, we'll enjoy the many ways that people have made the ascent to Mount Washington over the years.
For the past 100 years or so, most tourists have hopped in their cars to make the thrilling climb through 4 separate climate zones to reach the summit of this historic mountain, and then slap the famous sticker on the bumper. Others preferred to leave the driving to the stage drivers while they took in the splendid views that gradually unfold like a three-dimensional postcard. And it's been that way ever since the very first crack of the whip. And a team of horses, not horsepower, took up the strain for that long haul up and up and up the carriage road.
The stage drivers from back in the horse-drawn carriage days. And you look at those guys and, you know, they're us and we're them.
It's a short drive up a single hill, but what a hill. To get there safely, Mount Washington Auto Road stage drivers must know every inch of every foot, of every yard, of every mile, from the base to the summit. They also know the best views and the colorful history of how it all began.
The view that you're going to get is going to be spectacular. And even if you don't get the view, if you're into weather or open to experiencing some of the extreme weather, you're going to get that all around you. It's going to be howling wind, could be snow. It was ice yesterday afternoon. All these things are happening around you, and they change within the course of one day.
Because of the distinctive personalities of each driver, it's just as much the journey that's enjoyable as the arrival, no matter the season.
The main problem that you can encounter on Mount Washington, whether you're a hiker or a passenger in an automobile like we are right now, is the mountain's weather. It's said to be the worst in the world, and the reason for this is our location. We're right in the center of 3 major storm tracks and more than 20 minor storm tracks. So any storm coming into this area will have an impact on Mount Washington's weather.
Stage driver Dave Roy's been climbing up and down the auto road for almost 50 years.
You're trying to maneuver on a narrow road. You're trying to maneuver with drivers that are on a narrow road for the first time in their lives. We know that they're uncomfortable in their cars, okay? I'm trying to maneuver my stage up, and I have 7 or 8 people behind me that I am responsible for getting them to the summit safely. So I'm trying to see what's happening all around me. I'm trying to watch what might be happening behind me. And I'm also trying to tell and impart knowledge to all of the people that I'm bringing up and down. So it's a skill that takes a while to develop. The little trees themselves, no matter what their species happens to be, are referred to in a general name as Krummholz.
I refer to myself as stage driver. I also refer to myself when I meet my guests as the guide for the day. And I've always looked at it that way. Grew up in Maine. Maine guides are legendary. And again, that idea of the responsibility for taking care of the party you're guiding, it's very much the same.
Your other option here is always look to the inside.
That's right.
If you ever remember when you were a kid and you'd lay on your back in a field, look up at clouds, and you'd love working here. Once the mountain, I think, gets its hooks into you, it doesn't let go.
If you're behind the wheel, the average time it takes to get to the summit is about a half hour, weather permitting. Unless you're this guy. Professional race car driver Travis Pastrana took all of 5 minutes and 44.72 seconds to win the race to the top during a recent Mount Washington hill climb, a race that's been going on and on for a very long time. One of the oldest auto races in the country, the hill climb demands unbelievably fast reflexes, total concentration, and a fierce determination to reach the top. To the champion go the spoils. And in Travis's case, the treasured checkered flag and a cheering crowd.
This meant a lot to me. I mean, to get the record here, Mount Washington, it's something that's real close to everyone's heart. And to go up with almost double the horsepower by yourself with no co-driver, memorizing the run, it's been months of work on that kind of stuff, on just memorization, and it means a lot. It's really cool.
And lest we forget, the all-important bumper sticker that not only did this car climb Mount Washington, but did so quite a bit faster than your average 30 minutes. When it comes to racing, these folks are just as determined as Travis when they compete in the Mount Washington Auto Road bicycle hill climb.
Here we go, baby. Time to have some fun.
For them, it takes a lot longer to battle the punishing 12% grade.
It's legendary. It's one of the toughest hill climbs in the world. And, the weather's unpredictable, the mountain's unpredictable, and it's the anticipation of getting up that thing. This is one of the first races I think I've ever done that I've never thought about my competitors at all. I have one competitor, and that's Mount Washington.
It was beautiful the first 3 quarters, and then we got into the wind, and then it got cloudy and sucked in, headwind. Not a bad day, but you get the best of all the worlds coming up, and I'd like to have a view up here, but it's almost just as beautiful the way it is right here. What a day, man! Greatest hill climb in the world. Greatest hill climb.
Not for the faint of heart. The ultimate for individuals is the Mount Washington Road Race.
Hey, we are off and running. Enjoy this little downhill.
Fastest finishes averaging just under an hour. It demands the greatest effort for the most determined runners who come here from around the world. Well, it's true, there's only one hill. It's one heck of a hill.
This is a way to get to the top of the mountain and experience that, no matter how old or young you are. From little 7-month-old babies to, in the foot race this year, we have a 99-year-old man going to be running it. So it covers all generations, all ages, all nationalities, everything.
To the halfway point, I tell myself I'm at the point of no return. I can either go down or go up. It's the same distance, so why not go up? Every time I take a step, I'm a step closer.
You have to stop and turn around, because I see so many people just focused on the road and just looking down at the road and focused on what they're doing. And you have to look up and you have to look around, and sometimes you need to turn around and walk backward. It's stunning. There's no other race like this.
That is some good advice. And no matter how you get to your destination, take some time to look up and enjoy the view. Hi, I'm Cliff Blake. I hope this program is as inspiring for you as it is for me. The program resumes in a couple of minutes, but first, I'm asking you to take a moment and let us know how much you appreciate this program right now. Call or text to 800-639-8803 or go online to nhpbs.org. When you do, here's how we'll say thanks.
The Mount Washington Auto Road is one of New Hampshire's greatest adventures. And when you call 800-639-8803 or go online to nhpbs.org and make a $60 donation, we'll say thank you by sending you a Mount Washington logo hydration flask. you'll get access to a terrific member benefit called PBS Passport. With Passport, you can experience thousands of hours of programs, including your NHPBS favorites like the Mount Washington Auto Road to the Sky. If you'd like to donate $120 or make an ongoing monthly sustainer gift of $10, we'll send you a voucher for an informative 2-hour guided tour for two with access to the Mount Washington Weather Observatory Museum and the Logo Hydration Flask. For a gift of $240 or a $20 ongoing monthly sustainer gift, we'll say thanks with vouchers for the spectacular guided sunrise tour for two adults, and will include 2 adult Mount Washington Logo sweatshirts and the Logo Hydration Flask. Thanks to our partners at the Auto Road, we have 2 more amazing ways to say thanks. For your gift of $480, prepare to enjoy an overnight stay for 4 at the Glen House, including tickets for a self-driven ride up the Auto Road, 2 Logo hydration flasks, and that famous bumper sticker. These are limited and blackout date supply. For your donation of $600, we'll say thank you with the overnight stay for 4 at the Glen House, including tickets for that self-driven ride up the Auto Road, 2 Logo hydration flasks, famous bumper sticker, and get this, no blackout dates. So call or text 800-639-8803 or go online at nhpbs.org right now.
Joining me now is Howie Weems. He's the general manager of the Mount Washington Auto Road. He and his team were partners on this beautiful documentary and made these thank you gifts possible. Hi, Howie. Though we can't be in the same room at the moment, I'm glad to see you. And the Auto Road is more than a tourist attraction, I think. It's been a part of you for so many years. And I imagine there's a legacy that you'd like to leave behind when you retire this week.
Well, it's been an amazing run for me. I'm 33 years as general manager, probably about 40 altogether, because I started as a stage driver quite a while ago. And one of the remarkable things is that this is a privately owned family business, and most people don't realize that. Of course, we're surrounded by national forests, the top of the mountains, a state park, but this has always been private since it was opened in 1861. And the family that owns it now has owned it for over 110 years. And the fun part is that they take this stewardship very seriously. It is private property, but they hold it more as almost like a public trust. And so understanding that philosophy and that vibe when I came on board in '87 to manage made it much easier for me, because that's kind of my feeling, is that we've got this unbelievable piece of land up Mount Washington, and we kind of owe it to the public to take care of it. And I think we've been doing a great job at that, actually. And so, you know, a lot of things I've instituted over the past 30 or so years are aimed towards sustainability and long-term good for the environment and, of course, for the company. And so that's been challenging on the one hand, but really rewarding on the other hand.
Well, thanks, Howie. I got a chance to drive up last summer, and it was just fabulous. Productions like this come about with stellar video and great writing. Paul Lally penned this beautiful gem of a film, and he joins us now to share some of his secrets. So, Paul, talk about your research and writing process. This is your second project working with producer-videographer Steve Giordani on a film. What do you like best about your partnership with the New Hampshire PBS team?
Well, there's a rule in writing that if you can see it, don't say it. And with a project like the Mount Washington Auto Road, my gosh, you can see so many wonderful things, especially through the eyes of Steve Giordani, the videographer and our producer. He just did a terrific job, and so my job was reduced as a writer because you could see such wonderful things. Plus, the people who are part of the Mount Washington Auto Road, Howie and the Gay and Crispin, these folks are completely invested in that road. And interviewing them, they had so much heart to give to the story that by the time it came for me to write, well, it was not as challenging. But there are certain things you can't see, so I got the honor of writing words that Willem would say. It was a wonderful treat. And like working with Steve is fabulous, and everybody on the NHPBS team, because it's a team project. And then working with Mount Washington Auto Road folks, it was like a double whammy, and I really enjoyed every bit of it.
You have a storied history as a PBS veteran. First, you worked with Mr. Rogers, and now you're the producer of Ciao Italia with Marianne Esposito. All these programs are made possible by viewer support. What would you like to say to encourage people to pick up that phone and make a donation right now?
Well, I've been in public television my whole career, and like Howie said earlier, their work is a legacy. They're preserving something. And by golly, we sure are too with public television. I mean, we are the storytellers. Myself, Steve, everybody involved with public television, we're telling stories, and you as a listener are listening to them. It's a two-way street, and it's wonderful because it's public television. It's not commercially supported, it's viewer supported, and that makes all the difference. And frankly, that's why I've stayed in this particular business, because it warms my heart to do what I love to do for people who love to hear our stories.
Thanks, Paul. I couldn't have said it better myself. And now that you're picking up the phone, here are all the great ways that we'll say thanks.
The Mount Washington Auto Road is one of New Hampshire's greatest adventures, and when you call 800-639-8803 or go online to nhpbs.org and make a $60 donation, we'll say thank you by sending you a Mount Washington logo hydration flask. You'll get access to a terrific member benefit called PBS Passport. With Passport, you can experience thousands of hours of programs, including your NHPBS favorites like the Mount Washington Auto Road to the Sky. If you'd like to donate $120 or make an ongoing monthly sustainer gift of $10, we'll send you a voucher for an informative 2-hour guided tour for two with access to the Mount Washington Weather Observatory Museum and the logo hydration flask. For a gift of $240 or a $20 ongoing monthly sustainer gift, we'll say thanks with vouchers for the spectacular guided sunrise tour for two adults, and will include 2 adult Mount Washington logo sweatshirts and the logo hydration flask. Thanks to our partners at the Auto Road, we have 2 more amazing ways to say thanks. For your gift of $480, prepare to enjoy an overnight stay for 4 at the Glen House, including tickets for a self-driven ride up the Auto Road, 2 logo hydration flasks, and that famous bumper sticker. These are limited and blackout date supply. For your donation of $600, we'll say thank you with the overnight stay for 4 at the Glen House, including tickets for that self-driven ride up the Auto Road, 2 logo hydration flasks, famous bumper sticker, and get this, no blackout dates. So call or text 800-639-8803 or go online at nhpbs.org right now.
Up next, bundle up.
If you're going to live here and be a part of the Mount Washington Valley and its culture, you have to accept winter, if not embrace it.
Driving all the way to the summit of Mount Washington doesn't happen in the winter. Mother Nature can't be trusted beyond the tree line. But specially tracked snow coaches will take you up to that point for some spectacular views. Then come back down again, leaving the White Mountains to form a majestic backdrop for all sorts of outdoor activities that take place on the Great Glen Trails. And when snow covers the ground, the hill is still here. And that means it's time for North America's toughest, coldest freestyle 10K. The ski, shoe, and fat bike to the clouds.
It started out as simply a ski race, ski to the clouds. They added snowshoeing, they've added fat biking now.
The thing that resonates with me on this particular event is the athleticism and the personal challenge that people can, put themselves through. And that's what it's all about for these folks is, can I test myself?
3, 2, 1, go!
It's a fantastic race where you go through Great Glen Trails for part of it and then up the auto road for several miles. It's quite a race, very unique.
I would admit that winter is my favorite season. I love the snow, I love skiing. The snowier and colder the better in wintertime because this is northern New Hampshire and that's the way it should be.
On a day like this, the winter snow is still far away, but never forgotten. Nor is any aspect of the weather on this mountain because all of it shows up. Rain, fog, ice, snow, you name it. And it can come just as fast as it goes. Don't bother trying to outthink the mountain. It's a losing game. Stay put instead. There's always tomorrow.
As we climb on Mount Washington, it's like we're going north on the earth. So by the time we leave here in Pinkham Notch and get to the summit of Mount Washington, it's as though we left here in Pinkham Notch and traveled 600 miles straight north on the earth. So the climate 600 miles north of here is not what we see outside. So those trees that get a little shorter, then get to the Krummholz, okay, they've been stunted by high wind, short growing season, poor soil, and heavy snow. And some of those little trees are up to 100 years old or so. And they may only be 2 feet tall.
By the time you make it to the summit, there's more than just a mountaintop waiting for you. There are folks who work at the Mount Washington Observatory all year round, keeping their scientific eyes and ears on some of the world's worst weather. A lot of history, too, including the famous Tip Top House. Built in 1853 from naturally found mica schist, it's the oldest mountaintop hostelry in the world. Originally built for folks to spend the night and then watch the sunrise over the top of the world, now it's a museum of a time gone by, but not forgotten. They say folks climb mountains because they're there. Maybe so, but make no mistake, the folks who built, then built again, and built again, did so because something inside them said, we're going back up. So up they went, and up they still go. Spring, summer, fall, and winter.
Me personally, I love the rush of going up there. Every day I could drive up there and love every minute of it.
On a sunny day like this, it's hard to imagine the hell on earth that can visit this mountain in the time it takes to say, there's a change in the weather. In the summer, it's an ever-changing mixture of sun and wind and rain. But summers don't last long at 6,000 feet above sea level. Long before fall turns the leaves orange, yellow, and red, driving snow can top this mountain as early as September, sometimes even August. And when the day is done, the Glen House Hotel awaits, just as its predecessors did years ago. Hotels the likes of which you've never seen once graced the White Mountains. And the Glen House was no exception.
Well, before there was a road here, there was a hotel. And the reason that a hotel was even conceived out here in the Glen, as it was called back in the 1800s, was that the railroad was being built between Portland, Maine and Montreal. And it was being built primarily to haul goods out of Canada to an ice-free seaport.
But as the railroad grew, more and more tourists wanted to explore the beauty of the White Mountains. And while it's one thing to head for the summit and enjoy the view, at the end of the day, folks at the turn of the 20th century wanted all the comforts of home while being miles away from there. And the Glen House delivered. America's oldest man-made attraction gains another year on the competition, thanks to experienced road crews who understand the nature of Mother Nature and are wise enough to get along with her instead of telling her what to do.
When I was on the road crew, it was something we always look forward to. Everybody just got really excited about it, and you know, it's just a fun experience. You know, we usually start right after the beginning of April, and we'll start here at the base and work our way up the road. And you know, we'll have a bunch of different equipment that we're using. The Snowcat is the first one up the mountain, and that's what I actually ran the last couple of years. So that'll get all the snow plowed off the road. Once the Snowcat goes up through, then the backhoe will go up behind. And the backhoe's job is just pretty much open up all the culverts, you know, finding the tops and the bottoms of the culverts so the water has a place to flow pretty much once everything starts to melt. Once the backhoe goes up through, then there's a pickup truck, and it has a steamer in the back. That's what we use to drill the culverts. And what it does is just high pressurized hot water. And we use it to make a hole through the ice if the culvert is completely frozen. And once that hole is formed, then it just, you know, opens up over time once the water starts flowing. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, you know. And of course, the higher up the mountain we go, the larger amounts of snow we come across, and the adventure just continues on from there.
What I like most about this program is how it illustrates that there's an adventure for everyone going up that ribbon of a mountain road. Hi, I'm Cliff Blake, here at home just like you are, and taking another break from the program to hear from all the people who made it all happen. But first, I'm asking you to do what you can do to support programs like this right here on New Hampshire PBS. All you have to do is call or text to this number, 800-639-8803, or go online to nhpbs.org. And there are so many ways we'd like to say thanks.
The Mount Washington Auto Road is one of New Hampshire's greatest adventures, and when you call 800-639-8803 or go online to nhpbs.org and make a $60 donation, we'll say thank you by sending you a Mount Washington logo hydration flask. You'll get access to a terrific member benefit called PBS Passport. With Passport, you can experience thousands of hours of programs, including your NHPBS favorites like the Mount Washington Auto Road to the Sky. If you'd like to donate $120 or make an ongoing monthly sustainer gift of $10, we'll send you a voucher for an informative 2-hour guided tour for two with access to the Mount Washington Weather Observatory Museum and the Logo Hydration Flask. For a gift of $240 or a $20 ongoing monthly sustainer gift, we'll say thanks with vouchers for the spectacular guided sunrise tour for two adults, and will include 2 adult Mount Washington Logo sweatshirts and the Logo Hydration Flask. Thanks to our partners at the Auto Road, we have 2 more amazing ways to say thanks. For your gift of $480, prepare to enjoy an overnight stay for 4 at the Glen House, including tickets for a self-driven ride up the Auto Road, 2 Logo hydration flasks, and that famous bumper sticker. These are limited and blackout date supply. For your donation of $600, we'll say thank you with the overnight stay for 4 at the Glen House, including tickets for that self-driven ride up the Auto Road, 2 Logo hydration flasks, famous bumper sticker, and get this, no blackout dates. So call or text 800-639-8803 or go online at nhpbs.org right now.
Paul Lally, you've been a part of the PBS family and supporter of New Hampshire PBS for a long time. Why?
Well, I've been in public television my whole career. I've practically been in it from the very beginning, like before Sesame Street started. And the thing that I have been most proud of and has sustained me through thick and thin in public television is that it's for the public. It's for all of us. And the fact that I can contribute in an atmosphere of sharing that is so unique to public television. The information we share, like the program that we're watching tonight, this couldn't happen anywhere else but on public television. And I'm glad to be a part of that. And you as a viewer, you're a part of it too. I mean, it really is a two-way street. There's no him, no me, no you, no us, you know. That's the interdependency of public television with viewers who trust in what public television has to offer. And we have an awful lot to offer. And I'm very proud to be a producer who can tell the stories that I believe New Hampshire needs to hear and that you will enjoy. So I'm proud to be a part of that. And that's why I'm also a member of New Hampshire PBS, because, hey, you know, it takes 2 to tango, and I'm willing to dance that dance, and I hope you do as well.
Thanks, Paul. Howie Weems is back with me now. He's the general manager of the Mount Washington Auto Road. And like many New Hampshire success stories, it's a public-private partnership, but it's also been a family affair. And Howie, you're retiring. So in whose hands will you leave the stewardship of the Auto Road?
Well, that was a situation that caused me a lot of angst some years ago when I was thinking, well, sooner or later I'll retire. But, you know, over the years I've been fortunate enough to build a very, very strong team. And part of that team is a 6th generation from the family. And he has been with us for about 4 years now in other capacities, and he'll be taking over as general manager. So Toby Reichard is excited to be back and to be taking on the responsibility for the family. So I think it's going to work out very, very well.
Looks like you're leaving it in good hands. And we know these are tough times for everybody. We were disappointed to see the 2020 road race canceled. What are the plans for the future, Howie?
Well, that's the unfortunate reality of this summer, is that all of our big events, actually all of our events, have been canceled because of the need for physical distancing. It just wasn't going to work, and our projections looking toward the rest of the summer were that things weren't going to change enough so people would be comfortable, and we weren't comfortable gathering large groups. But fortunately, we do a lot of things here at the Auto Road, and some of them go back to the very beginning. You know, we're still able to allow people to drive their cars to the summit, and in fact, we think that's going to be pretty popular because people are in their own cars. That's the way we'll start, and then eventually, I think this summer we're going to be able to heavily modify our guided tour business into private tours, and we we hope to be able to get going with that in a phased approach as well.
Oh, that's great news. Howie, we can't thank you and your team enough for the support that you've given this project and New Hampshire PBS. Because not only did you help with research and history and production, but you made some wonderful thank you gifts available for supporters of New Hampshire PBS. Let's take another look at some of them.
The Mount Washington Auto Road is one of New Hampshire's greatest adventures, and when you call 800-639-8803 or go online to nhpbs.org and make a $60 donation, we'll say thank you by sending you a Mount Washington logo hydration flask. You'll get access to a terrific member benefit called PBS Passport. With Passport, you can experience thousands of hours of programs, including your NHPBS favorites like the Mount Washington Auto Road to the Sky. If you'd like to donate $120 or make an ongoing monthly sustainer gift of $10, we'll send you a voucher for an informative 2-hour guided tour for two with access to the Mount Washington Weather Observatory Museum and the logo hydration flask. For a gift of $240 or a $20 ongoing monthly sustainer gift, we'll say thanks with vouchers for the spectacular guided sunrise tour for 2 adults, and will include 2 adult Mount Washington logo sweatshirts and the logo hydration flask. Thanks to our partners at the Auto Road, we have 2 more amazing ways to say thanks. For your gift of $480, prepare to enjoy an overnight stay for 4 at the Glen House, including tickets for a self-driven ride up the Auto Road, 2 logo hydration flasks, and that famous bumper sticker. These are limited and blackout date supply. For your donation of $600, we'll say thank you with the overnight stay for 4 at the Glen House, including tickets for that self-driven ride up the Auto Road, 2 logo hydration flasks, famous bumper sticker, and get this, no blackout dates. So call or text 800-639-8803 or go online at nhpbs.org right now.
And there's a free app for accessing Passport. Look for the PBS app on your streaming player, Roku, Apple TV, Fire Stick, or newer Samsung smart TVs, or on your phone or tablet. And no matter how much you watch New Hampshire PBS, know that we are doing our best to keep this station's 5 channels and all your favorites on the air. As events remind us daily, we really are all in this together. You make New Hampshire PBS strong. And in the days and weeks and months ahead, New Hampshire PBS will fulfill its mission to connect you with informative, intelligent, and inspiring programs that satisfy a world of curiosity. I'm Cliff Blake. Thanks for watching.
Before you know it, the toll house is open, tickets are sold, and folks return to do what they've been doing for over 150 years. And one can only assume they'll be doing it for a long time to come.
In the 150 some odd years that we've been here, we've seen the evolution of transportation. We started with horse-drawn wagons, went to the very early steam cars, early gasoline cars, better gasoline cars, electric cars now.
And they'll be doing so thanks to other folks long gone to glory. Folks who didn't know the word quit, who faced tragedy and heartache and kept on going. Folks like you and me, who once upon a time stood down here in Pinkham Notch and looked up at the summit of Mount Washington and thought, I wonder what it's like up there. Find out for yourself. Next time you're on Route 16 North, turn left at the Auto Road sign and head on up the road to the sky.